Okay, welcome to Coffee and Miracles. So, today I wanted to share with you something that, because, miracles, we think of miracles, we think of huge things that happen. Somebody looking at something and would say, oh my gosh, that's a huge miracle. But there are things that happen in your life, and you start to realize these are small miracles that happen that make a big difference in your life. And sometimes you don't even see them coming. So there's a small miracle and one decision I made that made a huge impact on my entire family. So, first of all, it's what I call my homeschool miracle. So, when I was about the year 2000, my son was just about to turn one in a couple months. We were looking for a new place to live. We've been kind of in flux, our whole marriage kind of going wherever we felt God sending us. And so we were looking to rent a home because we were wanting to stay in the California area. And we were in Chino. At that point, we had moved to Chino. But when we were looking for the house, we were talking to different, and we liked this house. It had a big yard, all this kind of stuff. The house was nice, comfortable for us and our two kids. And they were going to be, the owners were going to be gone on a missions trip for like 18 months. So we rented it for 18 months, and it came complete with some of their furniture that they didn't want to move out, which was perfect for us because we didn't have anything at the time, long time ago. And so we were talking to them, and in the course of talking to them, we found out two things. One was they were praying about which of the many renters they were going to choose to rent their home, because they weren't, we weren't going to live there permanently. They wanted the home back after they got back from their missions trip. And so they were praying which people, which family was going to be the one that they would allow in their house for 18 months. And that's kind of a big decision when you're coming back and you've got young kids of your own. And so that was the first thing. And the second thing we were introduced to that we were waiting on was they were homeschoolers. And they'd been doing it for quite some time. And in talking with us about it, I was a little intrigued, and my husband was a little intrigued. So he turned to me and said, that sounds like a really good idea. You should look into that. Well, they decided for us to be the renters of their home. And so when we started and I talked with them the next time, we were talking about their homeschooling, and I had no idea how you do that. And we were going to send our daughter back to, I think it was fifth grade at that time, to the same private school that we'd been sending her to. And we'd been having some issues there. There was a little girl there that was causing problems in her class. It was a very small school. She was involved in figure skating, and it was hard for her to get back and forth. So we wanted to be able to have a little flexibility with that. So that's the reason why we were kind of contemplating this in the first place. And so while researching it, the more I researched it, the more I fell in love with homeschooling. And I came back to my husband. I said, okay, I've researched it and let's do it. And he said, whoa, I just asked you to look into it. Well, we both agreed, let's try it for a year, see what happens. Loved it. Changed our entire family, because not only were we able to have more time, I had 17 years with my kids, more time with my kids than I would have had if I sent them to school. So that was the first blessing as part of that. I was not looking for homeschooling. I was not looking for even another school, even though there were some issues there. But God put this in our path, and we took hold of it and ran with it. And for 17 years, I homeschooled my kids, and it was the most amazing time to get to be with them for so much, to be able to have hands-on in training them and teaching them and all of the things that I wanted to do, and all of the things I wanted them to know, and have time to do that, and flexibility to travel, to visit family, and to be able to teach what we felt were important topics and things and life skills and stuff. And it was a real blessing in our lives. And then with our son, I homeschooled him from the get-go. And he had some attention issues, which we later found out he has Asperger's. And so as a child on the spectrum, it would have been really hard for him in a classroom setting. So a real blessing that we were, and both my kids, very, very bright, very, very bright. And my daughter was always ahead. She was many years ahead in reading and a few years ahead in some other subjects. My son learned to read at 3 years old by using the computer and a jumpstart third grade at the age of 3. So my kids were really bright, and I don't think they would have been able to flourish in that setting had I not homeschooled them. So I was not looking for this. I was not even praying for something like this, but we were praying about what do we do with this issue, these couple of issues that happened at my daughter's school, at her private school. We liked the school and all, but she was way ahead in certain subjects, but she couldn't get further ahead because it was an elementary school. She was reading on a college level at that point. We had issues with our son. We wouldn't have known, what to do to school him. And so we were praying about that. So this was not a direct answer to prayer. It's like sometimes when you're praying for something, the answer isn't what you think it's going to be. So we weren't looking for it. We weren't praying for it. We weren't really even open to it, but it came in our path. And as we researched it, we said, this is for us. And the more we did it every year, the more we fell in love with homeschooling. It completely changed our lives, our family, our experience as parents, our children's experience with school. They were able to study some things that they would never have been able to do in a public or private school setting. And we grew as a family together. So sometimes a small little miracle, which could be coincidence, you could say, some people call it God incidence, and so can lead to an incredible blessing that you have. So it made a huge impact on me, on my parenting, on my children's lives, on our lives together. And it did not come as a direct answer to prayer. This has happened several times in my life because in 2020, y'all know I was praying for a way to feel better. Well, for many years, I was praying for that. Having fibro fatigue and pain and all this other stuff, I was praying for answers to health. But I was praying in 2020 because I had gained so much weight, and it didn't come as the answer to the prayer I thought I was praying. So sometimes you get an answer to prayer, but it doesn't look like what you think. And it actually is an answer to something you never asked, you never thought to ask. Excuse me. So I didn't expect it would look like what it looked like, but a lot of times when I'm talking to people about stuff that they're going through, there's something God puts in their path, and it doesn't look like the answer to what they've been praying for. But if you take hold of what God is putting in your life, it usually is the answer that to something you never even thought to pray for. So sometimes the answer looks like nothing like what you were praying for, but it is the answer to what was in your heart the whole time. So I'd like to ask you, in sharing that little bit of our family's life, is there something in your life that you're looking for, something in your life that you're praying for? And is there something that God put in your path that didn't look like an answer to that prayer? My advice to you would be check it out. I know for me, when I had a Facebook friend who responded to my fetching online about how I didn't feel good and I gained all this weight and I didn't know what to do because I tried all these diets and they didn't work. What she proposed to me didn't look at all like what I thought the answer would be. But to be perfectly honest with you, here's truth for you. It was an answer to things I didn't even pray for. It was an answer to my health. It was an answer to my purpose, my feeling purpose, because at that point I had grown kids and I had nothing, I had no energy to do anything. And now I'm a health coach and now I help other people. I have a purpose and a grand purpose. And then it was also an answer to finances because as a health coach, I make pretty good money. So I would invite you, if you have something that you're praying for and you have something presented to you that doesn't look like an answer to that prayer, check it out. I'm not saying it's gonna be, for you the way it was for me so many times in my life, but it could be. Check it out. You never know why God put something in your path.